friends and foes, my name's Corey.
I'm Wyatt.
And you're watching Let's Get Nerdy, back with another episode of Go-Go-Godzilla, the series where we go through every single Godzilla movie in the franchise to determine which one truly is
King of them all, and today we're going to go over Ghidorah, the three-headed monster.
Ooh.
Ghidorah, the three-headed monster.
That's right, we are going all the way back to December of 1964 to cover the first appearance of Godzilla's biggest, most iconic rival, King Ghidorah. So we're going to start off like usual. Wyatt, what are your initial thoughts and history with this film?
History is very short. I think I had seen this once when I was little. As I mentioned before, I got that pack that had a few different Godzilla movies in it when I was younger. Probably watched it. Don't really remember it because I was just watching it for the monster fights when I was little, and then just never went back to it. Upon watching it again recently, I really like it.
Yeah,
I think they're getting like a good formula figured out. I like how they're progressing through these movies and stuff. So
yeah.
What about you?
Largely the same. I definitely saw it when I was younger. I don't remember what I thought of it, so I probably didn't think much of it.
Right.
But on this watch through, this is a lot of fucking fun.
Yeah.
You're getting firmly into these are now, I used the term before, action figures smashing into action figures when talking about the Legendary series, and this is firmly that. Like literally, the last fight looks like, when you're 10 taking your figures and just throwing them at each other in the best way possible.
It's so good.
And then the human plot is utterly ridiculous, and I can't wait to get into that. I had so much fun with this, and I'm excited.
So, like you kind of mentioned the monster fights. I do want to get to that, but I want to talk about the human plot first, because it is ridiculous, but it's fun at the same time, and the characters don't feel annoying. Like, I'm never tired of anyone that's on screen. I enjoy them. They're funny. They serve their purpose to move the plot along.
Yeah,
I will say it is pretty human plot heavy. It's a while before we get any monsters in the movie. Right.
For how many monsters there are, especially because this is the first a cast of monsters. It's Godzilla's fourth appearance now. Fourth or fifth. It's Mothra's third. It's Rodan's second. His first appearance in a Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
Which technically, this is not a Godzilla movie. By the title, it is Ghidorah, the three-headed monster.
Yeah. Which is interesting.
Yeah, which is interesting because if you look up the Godzilla collection on HBO Max, it's not in the collection.
It's not. No, we had a panic moment trying to find it. And I just looked up Ghidorah and it's there.
It's there. So very, very interesting, classification there.
Yeah.
But anyways, I kind of got you off there.
Okay. Yeah. So Mothra shows up through, if I remember correctly, on a TV show. They're interviewing people, and I think a kid's like, "Oh, I want to meet Mothra."
Well, that's what's funny. Mothra doesn't even show up. It's just the twins.
It is just the twins.
And
that's right. I thought there was a flash of two Mothra.
Yeah. And I thought it was so they flash and it's super weird, and it's not clear if it's shown on TV or not. They do flash to Mothra being a child, or you find out that at the end of Mothra versus Godzilla, that one of the twins had died.
Yeah. So
there's only one living, and it's living on Infant Island still. They still have yet to call it Monster Island.
Yeah.
And so, to take it back, there's this weird news report, school assembly thing, where this guy was telling these children they're gonna meet Mothra. And turns out Mothra is not in the van or in the stage behind the curtain. Mothra is not there, but the twins are.
Right.
And this is where I thought was going to be an interesting turn of they're having people, because they look different. I don't know if it's different actresses. I didn't look into that, but I thought it was going to be these aren't really the twins, but they're having people pose as the twins, and now it's going to be the start of having them show up. But no, it's just the twins are making public appearances.
It's just them. Yeah,
the Mothra twins are just there. It was just, I don't know why that's so funny to me.
Like some daytime game show.
Yeah.
They're just showing up. It's kind of weird.
Showing up on Good Morning Japan.
But yeah, so and that's quite a while into the film. And then I think it was like 38 or 48 minutes into the movie before Godzilla shows up.
Yeah.
And it's very people heavy in the first 2/3 of the movie.
Yeah, a lot of the plot ends up, I guess, going or like surrounding this. A princess from a nearby like small country is visiting Japan on like a diplomacy trip, and it turns out like her dad or like the king of that country is trying to have her assassinated or something like that.
Yeah.
Which that's hilarious. Like the whole assassin subplot.
It's bizarre and hilarious.
Yeah, because like.
Yeah, so the princess shows up on like a diplomatic mission. Her plane blows up. Her ship blows up. Turns out there's an assassin, and his name is not Jango Fett. This is very this is very Attack of the Clones feeling, and maybe George Lucas was a Godzilla fan. Maybe got some inspiration from this weird subplot.
George Lucas might need a lawyer up, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. Because it feels oddly like Attack of the Clones.
Yeah. But like, oddly like it, but also like a little bit like, I'm blanking on the movie, but there's like a movie from the 90s where like someone's trying to kill oh, no, it feels like Lilo and Stitch. It feels like Lilo and Stitch because every time the assassin or the scientist shows up to kill Stitch or capture him, they like something happens that it fucks their day up. It's like like when they show up to. So this is skipping way ahead, and we're not going beat by beat with the plot, so we're just gonna jump around here. There's a part where the princess, who at this point has been taken over by somebody from like a entity from Venus. It's either revealed that she's from Venus or like there's something from Venus inhabiting her body.
Yeah.
I never quite understood that.
Me either.
But
she's somehow from Venus.
Yeah, and she is now. They are trying to figure out what's going on, and they suggest shock therapy, which that's the first clue that this movie is from the 1960s because they're like, let's shock the bitch. And so when they go to turn on the electricity, which is in a different room, by the way, the assassin shows up and turns it to 10 to like try to kill her, and then by this time Godzilla and Rodan are fighting, and Godzilla gets dropped on an antenna. Dick first, by the way. I don't know if you remember. It hit him right up the, urethra. Like right up the urethra. It took out the electricity, and like it just kept being moments like that of like, why isn't somehow like she does not get actually killed.
Yeah, it's so like just the most like goofy, convenient things keep happening, and I guess to continue with that theme, like when they're in the gunfight near the end of the movie. Yeah. That is the weirdest gunfight. It's like across a canyon, and it feels like an old western.
But it doesn't.
It doesn't. And then like every time the bad guy gets the upper hand, he just stops shooting. Like he just quits. Like,
literally every time in this, it's not just in the final shootout because there's a shootout at the hospital too.
Oh, there is. That's right. Yeah.
Like they go every time they shoot, instead of going like bang bang, they like bang and then look, bang and then look, and then like he does the same thing like with the rifle. Yeah. He shoot and then like. It even looks like a couple times when they're shooting at each other, it looks like they're both like looking away, like because they're like scared of the like recoil or something.
Well, and then like in the canyon when they're in the gunfight, like they're shooting back and forth and stuff, and then for some reason he just stops shooting and I guess moves for some reason, and then the main like the protagonist climbs down this vine, and it takes a solid minute or more for him to climb down this vine very clumsily.
Yeah.
Perfect opportunity for the bad guy to have shot him, even if he had moved. Like you might keep an eye on what you're doing or what you're trying to shoot at, but no, he's fumbling around with some rocks, and then like the good guy's able to climb down these vines, grab the princess, drag her over there, start wrapping her like head.
Yeah. And you're missing the part where like he gets shot, and the protagonist does get shot.
Although I was working up to that.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, like he gets shot, like he drops his gun, gets shot. And then the bad guy just like stops shooting, and then I think he shoots again. But then at that point, like there's some rocks that start falling because Ghidorah or somebody blasted the mountain and some rocks fall. And then he hilariously catches like this rock that's it's a good sized rock.
It's a boulder.
Like, it's a boulder, but he just catches it and then stands there for a second and then kind of falls.
Not just a boulder, it's a rock.
Yeah.
It's just like the perfect goofy like old timey movie like feel. I love it. I'm not complaining about it. I love it.
No,
but it's so like
it's,
what's happening?
And I was trying to figure out what they were doing because like this is the first Godzilla movie. Everything up to this point like has some kind of subtext or is trying to say something.
Yeah.
To, like even I think Godzilla Raising Again, like they were trying to say something.
Yeah.
This one there's nothing.
Yeah,
this is
figure it out.
This is like I think because I looked at it. This came out in '64. Dr. No, the first James Bond like 007 movie, came out in like '62. So I kind of think this was their attempt at like trying to do some like kind of spy espionage type stuff.
Yeah.
And it works in terms of like it's super ridiculously entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't know on the level of a 007, so to speak, but yeah. So like I said, like the human stuff is super ridiculous and fun. But what about like the monster stuff? You know, we got quite a bit in the back half of this movie, quite a bit of monster action going on. What did you think?
Yeah. Before we get to that, I did want to say I did like the other like scientist characters and stuff, but I don't really remember their names or they didn't have. They were funny, but I don't remember a lot of like standout stuff to them. But I did want to mention them, I guess. Because I don't want it to come across that they were that forgettable.
No, they served their purpose.
They did.
It seemed they were largely there to carry the box of the two Mothra
That's
twins.
pretty much what they were doing. They were like carrying the box and observing the monsters fight, and then kind of having some like narration.
And then there was actually even a point when the gunfight at the hospital, the lady runs up to like in the middle of the gunfight as if the gunfight's not happening to the like protagonist and like it's ridiculous. It's a lot of fun.
It is fun, but anyway, what we're all here for, the monsters. But it's fun. It feels like this is like the first like clash of a bunch of monsters in a Godzilla movie,
like a proper monster rumble.
Yeah, it's like our first great like WWE just all out fight.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's a little clunky and a little, like they don't totally know how to choreograph everything yet, but they're getting it figured out with every movie, and that's really cool to see how it progresses over each movie. And like the Mothra fight with Godzilla in the last movie was kind of rough, I thought. This was a lot better. And there's so much more to it. I don't know if that helps or would hinder it, but they did a great job with like all the monsters. And I guess before like they even got to fight Ghidorah, like I think Godzilla kind of got his ass whooped a little bit by Rodan.
Rodan, yeah,
which was weird to me.
Yeah,
but
because like Rodan, I don't know. I said this to Wyatt before we were recording. I like that in every iteration of Godzilla, Rodan is kind of a bitch.
Yeah,
because there's a point.
Every time.
This is skipping. Yeah, every time. This is skipping ahead in the fight, but there's a point where it's the only time that it's Ghidorah and Rodan one-on-one. Rodan hides behind a rock. He like ducks behind a rock and like is waiting for somebody else to help him out, while Godzilla's trying to rescue Mothra.
Yeah.
But getting back to it, the first initial fight we get is like Godzilla and Rodan happen to kind of show up around the same time. Yeah. I think this time instead of Tokyo, it's Yokohama, because they end up fighting at the base of Mount Fuji.
Yeah.
Which is just fighting at the base of Mount Fuji is awesome. Really like cool set piece. But yeah, you get Rodan and Godzilla going at it, and like Rodan keeps just like picking up Godzilla and dropping him off.
Yes.
Then you get a point of the awesome, like anybody who's a Godzilla fan has seen at least the clip of Godzilla and Rodan playing catch with the rock, of like hitting it back and forth of like a tennis match. Yeah,
they're playing like volleyball or tennis with like rocks and boulders and stuff. And I love like the constant theme in these older movies, these older Godzilla movies, of like boulders and rocks being thrown and tossed around all the time.
It really feels like Godzilla learned from his fight with King Kong and we'll figure out the throwing the rocks thing. There's something to it.
Yeah. Which is pretty cool.
It shows that he's like, Godzilla's a little bit smarter than most.
Yeah, he's not just like brawn and crazy, like.
Which, just kind of side note about like the production side of things, because you mentioned like the clunkiness of it. There with the King Ghidorah especially, I saw online that they were saying like making King Ghidorah itself was just a grueling process.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Because like with Godzilla, they reused the same suit from Mothra. They just happened to like change out the eyes for motorized eyes, so that's why this time instead of like the brown, they're like actually like moving pupils, and it's new suits for Rodan and Mothra. And King Ghidorah, they like figured out while they were going, because like they had to like the heads kept getting like wrapped up like with each other and then with the strings and stuff like that. Yeah. And then I guess like the dude who was in Ghidorah had to be like hunched into the torso the whole time. Just all he had to hold on to was like just a bar for like hours at a time.
Oh my god!
So it sounded like they literally were like it was way more grueling than any other suit that we've had to deal with.
Wow.
That's why it was clunky.
Yeah. It totally makes sense. Yeah. And it's like the first time that, like you said, they're figuring it out as they go.
Yeah.
Like there's so many moving parts with Ghidorah, like both the wings, all three heads, both tails, the feet, plus all the stuff on the each of the heads. There's so much to it, and I think they did a great job for having all that to deal with, and make that mesh with all the other monsters and stuff. So it was clunky, but not like bad. It didn't ruin anything, So.
And to kind of focus a little bit more though on some specifics is we already talked about the Godzilla vs. Rodan part. I love another part I love that I think is super corny, and like I can see why you don't like it. But when they actually got like Godzilla and like it was the three of them talking, Mothra, Godzilla, and Rodan. Of like you had the twins as the translators, where even like Godzilla and Rodan were being like catty at each other and like not agreeing. But I ultimately love like kind of like the samurai moment, I want to say, of like Mothra being like, all right, fuck you guys, I'm gonna do it on my own, and like crawling off on her own was weirdly badass for how weird that tone was.
It was like a mix of like goofiness with that, like, okay, Mothra's a badass. But it was goofy because like they are like being very snippy and like very just snooty, and like they both at one point like they both had their noses like up.
Yeah, they were both like,
they're just too good for it.
Yeah.
And then there was like, I think like a scene, it was a wide shot with like focused on Mothra, but you could see both Godzilla and Rodan in the background. They're both kind of like shaking their head like, like they're not gonna do anything. But so it is cool, like, that Mothra, like, pulls that badassery out of that goofy scene and goes down to fight Ghidorah.
It
just gets completely
and gets
obliterated.
wrecked. It gets completely obliterated. Because you don't fuck with King Ghidorah.
No.
And eventually this leads to Rodan and Godzilla joining in. And this is kind of what we already mentioned it, like, the first real, like, monster rumble of all three of them ganging up on King Ghidorah. And it's not the smoothest thing ever. It's not the best produced fight yet. But it's a lot of fun because it is fun. You get like Godzilla rescuing Mothra by like dragging him out like on it with the tail, which is funny because like that's what they used in the last movie. It's a beat Godzilla. I think like one of them
would bite his tail and stuff. So.
So it's almost like full circle, like using it to help him.
I think, and that's when Rodan's cowering behind the rock when Godzilla's dragging Mothra up out of the, like, they were kind of down in like a valley, and then they drug her up onto the higher ground.
And then somewhere in here you also get, I don't know why it made me laugh so much, of like King Ghidorah and Rodan flying around, like chasing, and then like they fly right into each other. And like I don't know if I just didn't see it, but it just seems like it's just Ghidorah that drops down, and then all of a sudden Rodan's there knocked down too, and it's just almost like it's and this is what sets up the coolest fucking moment in the movie.
Oh yeah, 100%.
The dumbest but coolest moment, the most like, I did this when I was 10 with action figures.
This is exactly what it feels like.
Rodan tells Mothra to get on his back, and he flies Mothra around, because Mothra this whole time is a larva. You never get full on Mothra.
Yeah.
And as a larva on his back, and they shoot the web of King Ghidorah with the web him up.
It's like getting a chopper gunner in like the old Black Ops.
Yeah.
They just like slowly circle Ghidorah while Godzilla's fighting him.
It literally made me, and I think I've already talked about this in another video, so you'll have to apologize. It reminded me of, I had a friend in like 3rd and 4th grade, Griffin 4. He lived next to like the pole vaulting sand or whatever, the long jump sand.
Yeah.
And we would take our Godzilla toys there and play in that sand. And it literally reminded me of, like, I'm 90% sure we did that and we had not seen this movie at that point. Like, we just thought of that.
It's so fun though. Like,
yeah.
And then at one point, like, Godzilla gets a hold of Ghidorah's tails and like he has it like it's like reins on a horse.
Yeah.
While he's being webbed up.
It's potato sacks him, and that's how they win.
Pretty much, like he drags him to this cliffside and just
chucks
tosses
him. Yeah, like it's a
it's fucking awesome.
Like, yeah, like a baby in 300.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so the fight pretty much wraps up after this. You get a bit of Godzilla, and then pretty much Godzilla and Rodan throwing rocks.
Yeah.
More rocks at King Ghidorah. And then Mothra continuing to shoot him with the web until King Ghidorah just
runs.
Gives up and runs away.
Yeah.
It's the most just like, it felt like they got to this point with the typewriter and they're like, and Ghidorah leaves.
Yeah, he's done.
Yeah, and done. And like, that's, now we know that leads into the next one, which no future spoilers for that one. But, and this is how you kind of get the wrap up of, the princess who thought she was the princess no longer is the Venusian. Is that what they called it? Venusian?
I have no idea how to say it, but
and she ends up going back to her hometown, her home country. Which I want to say this: the costumes for the home country, like with the weird little collars, it made me think of like, do you know the Muppet that threw fish? You remember what I'm talking about?
Not at all.
Okay, not a Muppet fan? Got it. They
really
look like I'll post something here, but like they look like they wore these collars that looked like the Muppet that threw fish. Anyways, moving on.
So we're kind of gonna wrap it up with some final thoughts on the movie and stuff. And I guess one thing that I did want to mention, I think it's funny how like you mentioned Ghidorah and Rodan colliding in this movie, and then they just kind of fall and splat on the ground. I think if you were to post that next to the like when they collide in King of the Monsters,
it
would be kind of funny because like that's such like just like you feel Ghidorah like smash into Rodan and just take him out.
Yeah.
In that movie, and then this movie, it's just like comically like they just collide and fall on the ground.
Yeah.
Like, they're just knocked out and like stars around their heads like the Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
But I guess my final thoughts on the movie is that I think it's a lot of fun. The human plot again is completely goofy and ridiculous, but it's fun. It's a little heavy on the human story, I think. But when the monsters do show up, it's great. It's what we all want to see. It's a big monster fight.
Yeah,
it's great, and it's a fun fight. It's it's cool to see another step in their progression with making these movies, and then just getting better and better at every little thing that they do. So I like it a lot.
Yeah, and one thing we actually failed to mention with the ending, you also get like a Fast and the Furious ending with the monsters. With Mothra going back to sea, and Rodan and Godzilla are just standing there, like literally, like looking around, like
stoically,
like at the end of a Fast and Furious, where it's like, "All right, see you, Dom," kind of shit. It's hilarious. But I have largely the same feelings. I think this is a lot of fun. And I think it's ridiculous. One thing I find though that I will say I think will hurt this one in the rankings is we gave a lot of compliments to a lot of characters and monsters, But I feel like we didn't talk too much about Godzilla. It kind of feels like for this being his first appearance as a good guy, like somewhat of a protagonist, he really takes a back seat. Like he doesn't really get a lot of the focus, or like just really too many cool moments. Like no cool moments that I can point to. Like like we can maybe in the like in Godzilla versus Mothra, the awesome rampage. Yeah. In Godzilla versus King Kong, like beating the shit out of King Kong. Like it just, to me, it just feels like this is the least significant, which, to granted, he's not even in the title. That might be kind of why. Yeah. But other than that, I thought, like, this is a lot of fun, ridiculous. I love the monster rampage, and of course would, recommend this to people if they're getting into Godzilla.
Oh yeah, for sure. I guess I did have, like, one thing that I do feel is like a little bit lacking in the movie is that I think Godzilla only uses his atomic breath like a handful of times. Yeah. And it seems like he could have used that and should have used that a lot more, especially in the end fight when like he chooses to get up close to Ghidorah. Yeah. Like, could have just used his breath. And I think he does try to a couple times in that fight maybe, but it just doesn't feel like it's used very much at all in this movie, which is, I don't know, that's, you want to see that when you see Godzilla, so.
Absolutely. And now we're going to get into what this whole series is all about. We're going to rank this, see how it compares to every other Godzilla movie in the franchise. Starting at number 9 right now, the current ranking is Godzilla Raids Again. Number 8 is Godzilla vs. King Kong from 1962. And number 7 is Godzilla vs. Kong 2021. I believe after that, at number 6 is Godzilla 2014. And then after that, I believe, is at number 5, Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. Yep. And at number 4 is Godzilla 1954. Yep. And number 3, Godzilla vs. Mothra, or Mothra vs. Godzilla. Yep. Number 2, Godzilla King of the Monsters, the 2019 version. And at number 1 still is Godzilla -1. Why will Godzilla -1 remain there?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think anybody thought this was going to be Godzilla -1.
Yeah, I'm not even trying to joke about that one. That's not even close. It's not even close, but
So I kind of already said this to you. I don't know where I have this ranking. So you started off.
So this is interesting because I do know where I want to put it, and I think your point you made just a minute ago definitely made me think about this spot, but I still feel pretty comfortable putting it where I want to put it. I'm gonna put this at number 3. Honestly.
At number 3?
Yeah, at number 3, because I genuinely really have a good time with this movie. I think it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And I would recommend it to somebody that maybe is just getting into Godzilla, because it's not like... It's just a fun movie. I think like it has that... I just feel like a good mesh of like the older Godzilla style to me, and it kind of leads into like more of the bigger monster fights and stuff. So it makes you want a little bit more, I think. But it is lacking on Godzilla. I do admit that. So probably won't stay at number 3, but that's where it is for right now.
I do not think it's number 3. To put it above Mothra, I think this is like right below 2014 for me, if I'm being honest. In terms of like overall, like
below,
right above it, right above it. I think above 2014, Yeah. But like thinking about like the fun aspect of it, I can't ignore 1954 is just such a better movie.
Oh, it is.
It's such a better movie, and it is something that like if we're using like what you would recommend, 54 is like the one that I'm like, no, like for years before -1 was like, no, this one's a good movie, you guys don't understand. This one I can't, like if somebody's looking for a good movie, I don't know if I'm picking this one. I would pick...
That's fair. Yeah.
So, for me, it's number 7. No, that would be number 6, moving 2014 to number 7. Yeah. So, with that, when we differ in opinion, if you guys don't know, the way we break a tie, instead of sitting down and figuring this out like grown adults, we leave it up to science, math, and the gods, and we play rock, paper, scissors. Yeah. So, simple rules is rock, paper, scissors, shoot. If he wins, the list gets ruined even further. If I win, there's some kind of sanctity going on on this list. So
I think I've won every one of these so far. Too.
so far, so far it's been rough. So
this
all
may
right.
be a really fucked list. I don't know.
Well, you know, that's what it's a scientific method here.
Yeah,
So
something like
that's
that.
why it is that is why we stand by this list and say it is the definitive ranking of all of Godzilla lists. So let's just get it over with.
Yep.
I'll go ahead and lose.
Okay.
All right, ready? Rock. Okay,
Wait,
let's restart
yeah,
that.
okay. Here we go.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, thank God!
Fuck.
So, the new ranking is at number 10. We got Godzilla Rage Again. At number 8, we got Godzilla vs. King Kong, the 1962 version. Number 7, still. Did I fuck that up somehow? Oh, no, I did. Okay, so at number 10, Godzilla Rage Again. At number 9, Godzilla vs. King Kong, the 1962 version. At number 8 now, Godzilla vs. Kong 2021. At number 7, Godzilla 2014. In the number 6 spot now is King Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. At number 5, we have Godzilla 1954.
Wait.
No. At number 5, we have GXK, the New Empire. And again, one last time, the updated ranking now is number 10, Godzilla Rage Again. Number 9, Godzilla vs. King Kong, the 1962 version. Number 8, we have King Godzilla vs. Kong, 2021. At number 7, we have Godzilla 2014. At number 6, we have King Ghidorah, the three-headed monster.
Yes.
I'm fucking these names up so bad.
At
Number 5, we have GXK, the New Empire. At number 4, we still have Godzilla 1954. At number 3, we have Mothra vs. Godzilla. Number 2, we have Godzilla, King of the Monsters, the 2019 version. And finally, at number 1, we have Godzilla -1. Please stay with us to figure out if it remains that way. I believe next on the docket is Godzilla versus the three-headed monster, or Invasion of the Astro Monster, whichever title I want to go with.
Yeah.
It's the one where Godzilla fights in space. I'm very excited to cover it.
Boom. Space.
Until then, please like and subscribe. We got to get back to nerding out.
Yes.
Uh-oh.